Hey, gang, here we are with another episode of the Power of Nine podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Eggert. I have experienced firsthand the wizardry that our guest brings when it comes to financial strategy. Not only that, but he's probably one of the kindest people I've ever met in my life. Uh, Look forward to spending the time with Brandon Norberg today. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Aaron, for having me. Really excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, man. So we've become pretty good friends over the last couple of years. Met you
Okay.
pretty serendipitously through business stuff a handful of years ago. But fast forward to now, and we're spending a day in a boat fishing in Canada together and fun things like that. And talked about a bunch of stuff we can't repeat on a podcast. So that's the fun
It's
part
true.
about the way business and life all comes together.
And that was a good day. Not if you were a walleye, but that was a good day in general.
Or a beer.
Or beer.
Uh, hey, before we get started, so we can know how to address you throughout this podcast, will you please share with me your pronouns?
Sure. Brandon Norberg, I'm he, him.
Awesome. Love it. Uh, did you grow up fishing? Or were you a big fisherman growing up? You grew up in Wisconsin, right? You're Scotty?
Yeah, I grew up in Eau Claire, so Western Wisconsin, and I enjoyed fishing. I wouldn't call myself a huge fisherman, right? So I think that trip we were on a couple months ago was the first time I was going after any muskie.
Yeah.
But we had fun story when we had an open campus in high school, and so myself and a couple guys figured out that we could hop in my buddy's pickup truck and we could buzz down to the lake in Eau Claire and we could get about 10 to 12 minutes of fishing in and then buzz back, right? And so we're
Yeah.
packing a lunch and eating, and four guys in the back of a pickup truck. It was very Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Best day was when I caught a bass right at the end when we had to leave. So I walked into English class with fish all over my hands because I didn't have time to run to the bathroom first. But yeah,
At
so
least
I
it
always enjoyed it.
at least it was a bass. So you grab it by the lip. You don't have to grab it by its slimy body.
Exactly.
Yeah. What was your family dynamic growing up? Siblings, parents, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm really lucky. I have two awesome parents who are a huge influence in my life and still are to this day. And I've got a younger brother and a younger sister. My brother's about 3 years younger than me. He's actually just retired. He was a firefighter paramedic in Eau Claire for a long time. And then my sister, she was always the artist growing up, but now she's pursuing her engineering degree out in California.
Wow.
So until that, I used to say, it's just evidence of what kind of great parents my parents were. Is you got like a finance guy and a firefighter and an artist out of the deal.
Yeah.
They did a great job though of letting us all kind of try a bunch of different things and figure out what we liked. But yeah, they grew up. They're from a small town called Clayton, Wisconsin, which is people know where Turtle Lake, Wisconsin is. It's about 20 minutes south of there, but they were a year apart and they graduated with 23 people in their class. So I think
Yeah.
up in that neck of the woods, you throw a rock, you'll hit a cousin of mine. But yeah, I think so. We have some of those small town roots in our family, and my mom's dad, my grandpa owned the feed mill, and so I think some of my entrepreneurial stuff, if I sit and think about it, it's deep in my DNA.
Yeah, for sure. So did your parents do anything that had anything to do with finance, or is it just completely random that you decided to go down this path?
Um, I don't know if it's completely random, but no, my dad still has a job he got the summer before I was born. So he's held it down, much different than my resume. He's held down the same employer for 37, 38 years, working for Schilling Supply, selling a lot of janitorial products throughout kind of Western Wisconsin, if you will. So a lot of calls on nursing homes and school districts, and it's floor cleaners and soap dispensers and hand towels and kind of the non-sexy stuff that everybody needs.
Yeah.
But he loves it. He loves making a difference in his customers' lives and getting to know them. My mom stayed home with us when we were young, and then she went back to work as we got older, and now she works for the clerk of courts office in Eau Claire County. So I guess to an extent, there's some of the rule following, and my starting my career as a CPA, right? There's some of the type A tendencies, but no, neither of them came from kind of a pure play finance background.
Yeah. So is your whole family a big athletic I know you were an athlete, like you were a good athlete too. And so did your family have that in you, or was that something that you had a little different?
Um, Whether or not I was an athlete is probably debatable. I definitely played sports though.
You
Yeah,
played in college. You played in college, Brandon.
I,
Let's just,
yeah,
that's
I,
one step further than
sure,
many people have made
sure.
it. So yeah,
I,
you're an
I
athlete.
played I played Division III football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, football's something I gravitated to. Growing up in a small town, my parents played all the sports. Um, I think getting ready for this podcast and thinking back through life, right? One of the fun things for me was going into my senior year of high school. The newspaper in Eau Claire had kind of a season preview, and they talked about all the teams in Western Wisconsin. And Clayton High School, my parents' alma mater, that year had a tight end who was about to break the tight end receiving record that was then held by Randy Norberg, my dad. Right. So
Oh,
my senior
sweet.
year of high school, my dad and I were in the football preview together, which was kind of funny. But
Yeah.
yeah, we've just always enjoyed, playing sports, or we camped a lot. Right. So we are just kind of always an active family growing up.
Yeah. So you can't get to where you've gotten through without being a good student. And so and I was looking at your resume of things that you did even in high school and stuff. And so you blended really good. Like you were the consummate student athlete, right? Like you were student
Sure.
first and then an athlete, kind of 1B, I guess. And
Yeah.
so what, you have a good grade point average? Were you on the honor roll, all that good stuff?
Yeah. It wasn't 4.0, it was probably pretty close. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've always been someone who likes trying a lot of different things. Right.
Yeah.
I was doing the DECA stuff, later in high school. And that's really where I kind of started gravitating towards business. I had friends that loved science and wanted to be a scientist, and that was just never for me. But, I was in band and jazz band and did the sports thing. And, football was important to me. So I made sure to prioritize kind of off-season workouts. And I frankly just wasn't super good at baseball or basketball or any of those other sports. So it was easy to
Yeah.
drop them and then start working. So I did a lot of part-time work, and, family kind of raised me on the value of hard work.
Yeah. Where'd you go to college, your undergrad?
Came to the cities, go to Bethel University. So again, I was trying to find somewhere I could keep playing football. Uh, but I also knew I wasn't good enough to be chasing D1 scholarships or the NFL or anything. I just loved the game, and so needed to make sure I got a good education. So Bethel was a great fit for me that way.
Yeah. Did you know early on that as you got into let's say your freshman year, did you know
Mhm.
that finance was the direction that you wanted to go, and that, that side of business was something that it just kind of pulled towards you?
Surprisingly, no. And so you might get a chuckle out of this, right? So Bethel had a business degree, and you pick an emphasis within that. And so I came into college as a marketing guy,
Oh
right?
boy.
Which if you know me now, right, you're like, what were you doing? Um, I didn't know much about accounting or finance at that point in time. I had done well at DECA, and I knew I just kind of liked the big picture of a business, right? And it felt to me at the time that accounting and finance was too nerdy. Takes one to know one. I'll just wear it now, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I started as marketing, and then as I progressed, I think it was, towards the end of my freshman year, it was kind of my advisor, right, said, well, a lot of people have two emphases, and you came in with some credits from some AP courses. So why don't you add finance? A lot of people like those as complementary. And then I didn't add accounting until I was in the middle of my junior year. And I had a peer who was kind of a mentor to me, and he had gone into audit and kind of showed me that it's not just a bunch of pocket protectors and 10 keys. It's still 10 keys, but audit gives you a look under the hood of a business. And so for me, it became a really good way to start, because at that point I kind of had uncovered this, natural ability with numbers, and enjoyed some of that kind of stuff. So that was a lot of fun kind of figuring that out as we went.
How was it to be a college athlete and playing at a school at Bethel that, they do have an emphasis on education first and
Yep.
athletics second, but how was that balance of being able to juggle all that?
Uh, to me, that was one of the benefits of going the Division III route, right? I mean, I had some friends that played Division II football, and in that environment, it's more of a job, right? I would be an early morning workout guy in college because I chose to, because I had to fit. I was always taking full course loads and finding ways to fit everything in. And my buddies at other schools, had to be, shoes on the gym floor at 5:45. And so that colors it a little bit, right? And Bethel's just so intentional about culture, and that's really what drew me there. Once I met with the head coach and understood the way he's trying to build a team around culture first, in kind of a countercultural way, right? It's an evangelical Christian school, but he's, very upfront about the fact that he wants a bunch of tough football players, and here's the character of people that we're chasing, and we can win through culture. And he did. He found success. So kind of think of what the working world's been through the last couple of years, the emphasis of healthy teams and healthy cultures. I think I had an unfair leg up that way because I got to witness it firsthand. So really that Bethel environment was really one that was really formative for me.
Do you think that that experience of playing on a team that has got such a strong culture and put such an emphasis on culture kind of shaped you into the types of organizations that you found yourself being a good fit into? And that culture, I mean, think about this, like the time that you were getting it. So your first gig out of college was, working at one of the bigs at EY, right? And so that, I don't know if at that time, if quote unquote culture, I'm using your quotes, culture is something that they really talked about a ton, especially in a corporate environment and things like that. Did you feel like you needed that fit because of that experience in college? Specifically football?
Yeah, that's a good question. I hadn't thought of it that way. I think, in retrospect, I think I made some choices with my career early in my career that I knew would set me up better down the road. And so maybe I deprioritized the culture fit early on because I just said, let me broaden my skill set. Let me see how fast and how far I can run so that I'm really qualified for whatever I want to do. Right. And as I've progressed in my career, then I've been really intentional about trying to create and find cultures that sync up with kind of who I am and what I believe is a successful way to run a business. Right. I think, the trying to pinpoint kind of a single moment in my career that was kind of the big paradigm shift, I think, was when like you said, I started in audit for 3 years. I was in private equity at a couple different spots for around 8 years. And it was when I left that, I joined the LED light company where we met, right, as fate would have it. That to me was me finally stepping out, right? I'd always been on teams that were building and developing me and saw some potential in me. And that was finally my chance to say, I'm kind of out from underneath your guys' wing. I'm going to make or break this on my own. And that was when I did that is when I got to really kind of tap into that. Okay, this is what I think a healthy culture is. This is what an environment is that I think would be fun to work at, that I think others would find joy in working at, fulfillment beyond just, hey, cool, I got a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Yeah. I want to rewind and go back to your time in private equity. Right before I do that, I want to take a quick break here so we can hear from a few of our community supporters.
You bet.
And then let you catch your breath a little bit, and then we'll be right back. Yeah.
Sounds good.
If you're an entrepreneur or married to one, your journey is complex. You want financial advice that impacts your whole net worth, including your business, not just stock market investments. You also want a partner that quarterbacks the relationships between the CPA, estate planner, banker, and other trusted advisors. That's where the team at eWealth Partners comes in. We love helping you and your spouse design a financial plan that aligns and empowers you. A plan that addresses your concerns, priorities, and goals tailored to reach your long-term vision. A long-term vision that is worth the pursuit today. Visit ewealthpartners.com to learn how they can help couples like you. eWealth Partners, holistic financial planning for entrepreneurs. Investment advisor services offered through AdvisorNet Wealth Management. eWealth Partners and AdvisorNet Wealth Management are not affiliated.
The topic of talent is hot in organizations of any size, and I would argue none more than small to mid-sized businesses. That's why it's crucial to have a partner to help you navigate all the HR idiosyncrasies so you can focus on working on your business and not in it. Insperity is a full-service HR partner with a high-touch, high-tech platform helping owners work through challenges like employee retention, company culture, and benefits, just to name a few. Do yourself a favor and explore all they have to offer at insperity.com. Insperity, HR that makes a difference. When you think of a typical CPA firm, you probably think of tax planning. Well, that just scratches the surface of what Boulay offers their clients. By providing smart, in-depth thinking from experts in accounting, audit, tax, and business consulting, they know what it takes to achieve financial success. Whether it's protecting your business, building your wealth, or securing your future, you can count on Boulay to go beyond addressing just financial matters and providing you with tailor-made, workable solutions. Learn about all they have to offer at boulaygroup.com. Boulay, helping you get there. Regardless if you're a startup just figuring things out or a medium-sized organization with a full team, having a legal partner by your side is crucial. Seiler Law is fiercely loyal to their clients and are passionate about removing headaches and roadblocks that can pop up during the growth of your business. Whether you need general outside counsel, are planning a business transaction, or even need someone to help guide you through the estate planning process, the team at Seiler Law are the advocates for you. Visit seilerlaw.com to learn more. Seiler Law, where experience meets pragmatism.
All right, we're back with Brandon Norberg, and I want to dig into the private equity thing. So I was just having
Sure.
I was having coffee with a guy yesterday that wants to get into private equity. Actually, FYI, I'm going to make an introduction to you. So I'm doing this live on the podcast. I won't do the
Inbox is
intro
always
live,
open.
but yep, good. So you're great with that stuff. So what was your aha moment when you went from corporate audit and, EY, working at one of the big four, that type of environment, and then getting into private equity? It's such a crazy different world. I say the words private equity, and I would guarantee half, if not more, of our listeners don't even really know how crazy of a world that is. What was your biggest aha moment in that world?
Oh, I think so. When I went into EY, right, the audit world is, they know the attrition, right? You're going to lose 80% of your people in the first 3 years. So one thing that was a big benefit to starting my career in audit was telling HR right away, hey, I want to get into alternative investments somehow, some way. I don't know if that's a hedge fund. I don't know if that's private equity, but help me with that experience. So they weren't surprised, and they put me on client engagements that got me the background that would help with that. So after 3 years, I joined Wayzata Investment Partners in an operations role at first. And then I just continued to build relationships with the investment team, because that was where I ultimately wanted to get. And, after about a year on the operations side, there was an opening, and I got to jump into a role there. And I think for me, what it was is there was always, again, growing up in Western Wisconsin, I'll call myself a smallish town kid, right? Eau Claire was 60,000 people. It wasn't a small town by any means, but somewhat.
Yep.
I think it was getting on the investment team and kind of realizing the PE world is not just something for these fancy pants Goldman Sachs guys out in Manhattan, right? Just how approachable it was, how successful a bunch of humble Midwestern folks could be. The guy who headed up Wayzata was a Glencoe born and raised guy, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's 5 miles from my house. I
Not
love
far
it.
from you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could throw a football there, right?
Over those mountains.
But kind of guy, exactly. Kind of guy, right? Who just figured it out, right? And so I think for me, that's probably what it was. Growing up, it always felt like outsized private equity success was something that was maybe for the coastal folks, right? Well, when I got into it, it kind of realized Wayzata Investment Partners is one of, if not the leading distress for control strategy through the last financial downturn. Well, and why? Well, because if you would really grind and do a lot of hard work, you could be successful, right? And that's kind of how Wayzata built what was Wayzata. They had a great team, right? Full of great people, some of these themes that have continued through my career. But at the end of the day, kind of realizing, there's a bunch of guys and gals who can grind away in Wayzata, and they can be as successful or more successful than kind of these folks out on the coast. So I think that was probably the most surprising thing for me. It was just, I wouldn't say how easy it was, but how simple the formula was for success.
And how I think the thing that I think about, so give me a definition, just define in your words, private equity.
So I think private equity, the analogy I go back to a lot is a lot of people are used to buying a home, right? You use a broker. And so private equity is just buying businesses, right? Or taking positions in the capital structures of companies, right? Which there's some jargon there, right? But, companies fundamentally finance themselves through equity or through debt, right? And so some private equity strategies try to provide that debt financing to companies. Other private equity companies try to provide the equity side of financing for companies. In the simplest form, that's what private equity is, right? And then there's all these flavors of private equity, right? Are you involved early on in a company's life cycle, which is kind of what the venture capital and some of the angel investing is? Are you involved later when maybe a company has hit some hard times? That's what Wayzata Investment Partners is. But fundamentally, it's private capital provided to companies through their debt or equity.
Do you think that, sorry, I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I think people are going to find this interesting. Do you think that private equity is going to continue to surge into the next, let's call it 5 to 10 years, as baby boomers that own businesses that don't have a succession plan are going to start to leverage that?
I think so. And I think there's another dynamic on the capital provider side, right? Where I think providing direct investments has never been more accessible for, think of high net worth families, right? They're realizing that instead of paying a bunch of fees to a fund that I don't have any control over, why don't I do my homework and really get to know a company and take a stake directly in that company? I can get a lot better returns, especially on a risk adjusted basis, if you have the right amount of capital to deploy. So I think those two dynamics will definitely combine to help private equity continue to surge as an overall asset class, is my view.
All right. I agree. So you spent a bunch of time in private equity. I'm not going to get into the detail of all the different
Sure.
places you did, but you did a lot of time in private equity. And then you decided to jump into a startup and go into what is the boiler room that is a startup environment. And that's where I met you, and we don't have to get into all of that, but like just that environment.
Yeah.
Of all
I tell
of that
people that's
stuff.
a 3 beer story. So yeah, we don't have time on this podcast.
So you go to Hilux Grow Lights, and which, you brought me in to help with me and my buddy Mikolai. We came in to help with some revenue strategy type things. But boy, you guys had that was such a good, maybe they're still around. I don't even know. What a great idea. What did you take from your time in private equity and then going into the management side of that? So you came in as, I think, the CFO and then eventually became the CEO. What did you take from that world and then apply that to that startup environment?
It was really the importance of the capital structure, right? Which again is kind of jargony, right? But that light company was 18 months of chaos, as I describe it, because the way it was financed was every 2 weeks we were looking for 100 grand or 50 grand, just need enough to make payroll. So, you start way at the top, right? You never had that certainty and that runway really as a management team to say, we can just focus on running this business, because you're constantly behind the ball. And the knock-on effect that had to research and development, to marketing efforts, right? To even our supply chain, managing that. It was really, since we couldn't get the capital structure right, and I smirked when you called it a startup, because it was a 10-year-old startup is what I called it. It literally was
startup environment
more than 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it felt like. Because we didn't get that capital structure right, that put us behind the ball on everything else in the company. And so I really brought that from private equity. And again, when I came over, customers talking big game and had signed an LOI, and at the end of my first week walked in and said, yeah, raising capital is really hard, so I'm out. Well, that's how they were going to pay for me. So that's really what kickstarted the chaos. But I think that's probably the lesson I brought from private equity. Again, as I'm also kind of meshing this, hey, cool, I've always wanted to be able to create a culture and shape a culture and, value people for who they are, right? So I was kind of trying to do all that stuff at the same time. And on one side of me loved the challenge, and the other side of me wanted more than 5 hours of sleep a night. So
I do remember that. I remember you being very having some sleepless nights, and did you have to go out and raise capital too? Did you have to go out and pitch and stuff like that? Or were you pretty much just focused on running the business?
I got to focus on running the business. The CEO at the time was the founder, right? He did most of the capital raising because it was mostly friends and family. And so I fortunately didn't have to be involved in a lot of those conversations beyond kind of showing him numbers and suggesting how much he should raise. And he had his own views then. But yeah, and then when I was CEO, right, it was, we were already in a hard time, right? And so talking with the board about, do you want me to raise money, or do you want to fund this yourselves and maintain control, and having some of those discussions. So it was an interesting time.
Dude, you have, there's so many stories that come out of that. And I'll tell you, it is a 3 beer story. And if I want you to share your contact info at the end of the show here, because I think there's a lot of people that want to get into the startup world, want to go and maybe, I've heard a lot of people, they want to go work in startup and report to a CEO in startup world. I think there's a lot of lessons that you can share with people. And so we'll share all that stuff. And you are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to that. Okay. So you spent your time there. That's where I met you. We became buddies, and the rest is history. Just kidding. So then you transitioned over to Heartland Equity Partners, and then went back into private equity. A little bit of a different vibe, because I think in this situation that Heartland, what I know about Heartland is they're in it for the long game. You know, it's buying companies, holding on to companies. And so that had to be, did it just feel good going back to your roots a little bit of being like, okay, I'm a little bit back in my comfy space?
Yeah, Heartland was a really unique strategy, and that's what drew me to it. I mean, there was kind of a serendipitous element to it as well, right? It's a collection. Heartland is a collection of 7 investors that pooled their money to buy businesses in the upper Midwest, like you said, to own them forever, right? And so I love that model, right? It's kind of what you were talking about earlier in the podcast around these boomers that don't have an exit plan. Heartland kind of provides that option for them to take care of their baby, keep them on the board. Great option for folks in that situation. And so, yeah, when I came back in, it was like, oh, cool, I can get back into doing deals again. We have these operating companies that kind of have a management team in place, right? So, so that was fun, right? There's a certain vibe. Even though I started my career in accounting, I'm more of a finance guy than an accountant. And a lot of people outside of that realm kind of go, I don't get it. What's the difference, right? And I say, well, it's just like sales and marketing, right? I don't understand them that well, but everyone who's in it tells me those are 2 distinct career paths. So as a finance guy, I like the gray area. I like trying to figure out where the ball's going to go, where the puck's going to move. I like doing the analysis and taking a leap, right? A pure play accountant just wants everything to balance, right? Debits equal credits, right? And so I always needed to have a role where give me some gray area. Let me talk to some smart people and let's try to figure this thing out. And so Heartland was a role that let me kind of scratch that itch, if you will. If only we knew the pandemic was coming.
Right. Well, you spent a good few years there, and then as I'm going to kind of fast forward a little bit, because we've only got a little under an hour here, and we could literally talk forever about Heartland because there's so many different things that they do, but that's not their show, it's your show. So so fast forward to now, and what I love about now is that the president of Loffler, James Loffler, is a friend of mine, has been for almost like 16 years. Calls me and like a bunch of other people that we both know and says, hey, I'm looking for someone to help us in the finance department, specifically focus on the strategy side with a little bit of an emphasis on mergers and acquisitions. Do you know anybody? I'm like, listen, I don't even know if this guy's is available, but the guy you have to talk to is Brandon Norberg. The guy's well, I said it in the opening, he's a financial wizard, strategy wizard. And then he calls Turbo, and Turbo tells him, and he calls Bain, and Bain to like all these people that we're all friends with, and everyone says the same name. And then present time, you're there. What is your role there? Sure. And actually, I don't know if we've had anybody from Loffler on. So why don't you talk about what Loffler does? Sure. And then, and your role there.
Well, this will be a good quiz. Hopefully I don't make the Loffler folks mad. No, so I'm the vice president of accounting and finance. We have a team of 14, 15 folks on that side of the house that help keep score. It's kind of the way I think of it, right? Finance is kind of with HR and marketing, and internal IT is what I like to think of as the service department to help our business units execute. And so Loffler was started in 1986 by Jim Loffler out of his garage, right? Selling dictation machines. And what's evolved to now, a lot of people know it as kind of a printer copier service kind of business. So if you want to buy a unit, you can buy it from them. They also have lease models and provide a ton of service related to business equipment in that sphere. And then they also got into, in the last handful of years, the managed services provider game. So being an outsourced IT help desk for companies with 25 to 250 users. Most, Joe Dashow's a Coalition 9 member. He heads up that business unit for us. So he'll maybe, when this comes out, he'll come over and poke me in the eye and tell me how I screwed it up. But those are the two big units that we go to market with. Just moved into a brand new, beautiful headquarters in St. Louis Park. The old Sam's Club got renovated. off Louisiana and Highway 7. So, but at our core, Loffler's focused on helping you succeed, right? And who's the you? Well, it depends, right? All of our salespeople help our customers succeed. My accounting finance team, we exist to help our peers succeed, right, in the business unit. So that's really our mission, is to help you succeed. We just happen to do it through printers, copiers, and technology solutions. But we have a unique niche that a lot of companies are either on the printer copier side or on the managed services side. We kind of blend that hardware, software expertise under one roof, so we can really provide a one-stop shop for folks.
And I feel like the culture there is such a good family focused culture, right? Because it is a family business, you know,
sure.
James being second generation, the president, Jim's still the CEO.
Yep.
And so, you know, father, son working in tandem, you know, you coming into something, I think was a big attraction for you going there, a big part of like your personal mission and the things that you want to do as an individual and the lives that you want to affect?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, I think, again, as I've gone through my career, I've kind of crystallized the importance of culture and great leadership from early in my life, and some of those lessons I learned, some of the more technical lessons and ways I sharpened my sword, you know, for my skills and abilities, you know, starting an audit and going through private equity. And so this was an opportunity to join a private company that would let me kind of bring all that stuff into one package, if you will, right? You know, I've through Coalition 9, right, developed this leadership profile that made me think really intentionally, even before I made my move to Loffler here a couple months ago, think really carefully about what I want my personal mission to be, what are my personal core values, you know. And so, you know, realizing that, you know, if I wanted to just chase a bunch of dollars in private equity, I could have moved out to the East Coast and made a whole bunch of money, right? But that's not what I want to do, right? I want to live a significant life that impacts others, lifts others, leads my family well, and sets a standard worth following in all areas, right? And so I match those up with my personal core values, which are curiosity, integrity, excellence, and then stewardship. And I really had to add stewardship in the last year here, because for too often, right, you're smirking because you know where this is going. I would carry the banner of excellence. Next thing I know, I'm not sleeping and I'm super unhealthy, right? And so understanding that there's a blend there between chasing excellence and then also holding up stewardship as kind of a counterbalance, right? And stewardship, I think of as diligent and determined care of relationships and resources. And so understanding I'm my best me when I'm getting a regular workout in, when I'm making healthier food decisions, things like that, and learning how to blend all that. And so, yeah, the Loffler environment, coming all the way back to your question, is really one that allowed me to kind of fully live out all of that stuff that had kind of been running around in my head as theory, right? And put that into practice.
And I think, you know, like I said, they are a very family focused organization, and, you know, they have a family atmosphere, but they also really want you to spend more time with your family, and, you know, be present at home and not be just, you know, that person that's just going to be, you know, 100% dedicated to the company. So talk a little bit about your family and what you have going on at home.
Yeah. So married to my wife, Erica, for 11 years now. You know, another story for another time. We met on a blind date, right? So and it was a friend we had in common, so much like how I came to the Loffler situation, right? Find the folks who know you best blind and trust their view, right? But we have two awesome kids. Our daughter Riley is 7.5. Our son Theo is about to turn 5. They're both great kids. I jokingly say Riley convinced us to have another kid, and Theo convinced us to have no more. He's just all boy, and he loves tackling things and superheroes and all that stuff. So he met Darren Lynch at your farm, and it was like he met his hero, right? And I saw some Batman stuff. And, so we love you, Darren. But yeah, and so we've got, I also jokingly say we have 2 dogs, and she has a cat because she had it before we got married. I was hoping we wouldn't have any more.
How old is that cat?
Well, yeah, it was right about, I think we had started dating, and she pulled it out of the alley. She's I love my wife. She's got a real soft heart. And it's, as far as cats go, it's fine. It's allowed to stay in the house. But I was hoping it would be the last cat, but my daughter's really taken to it. So I think we're going to always have a cat in our house, unfortunately. But yeah, we got a couple labs, and we're just getting into the season of life where kids are doing sports and activities and all that stuff. So it's busy. It's busy, but it's fun.
I love that your dogs are great too. They are the consummate labs, and you got such great. You're always showing me pictures of them because I got, you know, our little Ori, and just, you know, those labs are lovers, and it's so good for having those kind of dogs in a family like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear
Sure.
from a few more of our community supporters and then buckle up for 9 questions.
All righty.
Listen, people, everyone needs a bank. Not just any bank, a good community bank. From personal needs like checking and savings accounts to business services like financing and M&A support, the team at Flagship Bank is there to provide you with the assistance you need so you can spend less time thinking about your finances and more time enjoying what your money can do for you. To learn more, head over to flagshipbanks.com. That's flagshipbanks with an S.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Flagship Bank, investing in you. If you're anything like me, you know enough to be dangerous when it comes to finance, yet need some help when things get complicated. All-in-One Accounting provides the right financial expertise and leadership to align with your stage of growth. From outsourced accounting and bookkeeping to strategic financial planning, the team of accounting rockstars at All-in-One Accounting are passionate about positively impacting the lives of their clients. Check them out at allinoneaccounting.com. All-in-One Accounting, taking our clients from financial chaos to business clarity and beyond. United Healthcare believes there's no limit to what care can do. UHC is continually focused on building a modern, high-performing health system via improved access, affordability, outcomes, and experiences. With a network of over 1.3 million care professionals and 6,500 hospitals and care facilities, United Healthcare is dedicated to connecting you to better health by offering quality benefits designed for affordability. Go to uhc.com for healthcare plans, resources, and more information. United Healthcare, helping people live healthier lives. If you're a business owner wanting to save money on your overall real estate costs, I want you to give Carlson Partners a call. The team will help minimize your risk exposure and help you leverage the market to see maximized benefits to your next lease, purchase, or disposition. They've advocated and negotiated for hundreds of companies and saved millions of dollars in real estate expenses. With over 75 years of experience representing business owners, let them help you save time and money on your next real estate negotiation. Visit carlsonpartnersllc.com to learn more.
Okay, we're back with Brandon Norberg. Man, this has been so great. I'm so pumped to have you on the show. We're going to do this quick fire style.
right.
And can you confirm to me that you have no idea what I'm about to ask you?
I have zero idea. I just know there's 9 questions coming.
All right, good. I'm going to fire away. What was your favorite cartoon as a kid?
I don't watch a lot of cartoons. Let's say Flintstones. I remember watching Flintstones. Yeah,
there
I
you
was
go.
busy.
That's a good one.
I was busy playing.
All right. What, like right before you went out to the bus or something? Like I used to always watch G.I. Joe, and that was like my favorite one. And I always had to watch the end of it before, where they say their deal, and then I go catch the bus.
Well, I don't want to slow it down. I didn't have cable till I moved to college, though. So I mean, that's part of why I did all the outside stuff.
I didn't have cable till I was a senior, so we're in the same bucket there. That's good. We get good parents. What is one quality in a person that impresses you?
Integrity.
Yeah. Yep.
Integrity. Just that consistency and dependability. It's always impressive.
Yep. I like that. Okay, first of 2 would you rather questions. Who would you rather have on your side, RoboCop or Terminator?
Terminator.
Right? He's basically RoboCop, except he looks like a human.
Even better, yeah.
God, yeah. I remember being a kid and he was like pulling on the things in his wrist to make his fingers move, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is amazing.
This is so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is the first time I've asked that one. I like that one. What is a guilty pleasure that you choose to indulge in?
Oh, nice single barrel bourbon.
Yeah. And you've kind of migrated a little bit over to tequila now lately too.
You showed me the way. Yeah. On that fishing trip. So yeah, I enjoy unwinding with a nice pour.
Yeah. Good for you. What is the last gift that you received and the last gift that you gave?
Oh man, last gift I received. I'm trying to remember. Probably got something fun for Father's Day. I got a golf lesson and a golf club for Father's Day for my wife and kids. That was a pretty good one. Yeah. Got into golf again here in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Last gift I gave a friend who helped me with some of the job transition stuff. I got him a little gift card. Thank you. He's a big outdoors guy, so I got him a Cabela's card. So that was fun, right? Unexpected thank yous.
Very cool. I love that. All right. Would you rather have nosy neighbors or noisy neighbors?
Oh, Option 3. Um,
Option 3 is
noisy.
moving. Option 3 is
I know.
moving. But
I know.
I'm not giving you that option. You have to choose one of the two.
No, noisy. Noisy people who are not nosy, absolutely better than nosy people who are not noisy. My house is busy enough, so the murmur will all blend in together.
Right. As long as it's not 2 a.m. or something like that. If it's during the day, I can deal with it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. All right, let's go back to your athlete roots. If you were a professional athlete, let's say you're a professional wrestler, what would be your walk-in song?
Oh man, there's so many good ones to choose from. I got so many playlists, right? Something off that album when Jay-Z and Linkin Park did a kind of mashup album back when I was in college. I don't know, just hit random on that on that playlist. That was a pretty good one.
All right, good, love it. That's not what I expected. I thought you were going to say something country, but that's cool.
Not for a walkout song. If I got to go,
go
whip
hard.
Somebody. Yeah,
Jay-Z, Linkin Park. I like it.
Yep.
Where is your happy place?
Can I give 2 answers?
Yeah, I would love it. Yes. Yeah.
So option 1 is walking my dogs at night, especially this time of year when it's dark and it's quiet. As you know, right, I run hard, and so there's something in that solitude walking the dogs. Sometimes I have a podcast, sometimes I don't, but just walking around the neighborhood. So that's option 1, and then the counterpoint is option 2 is at the gym. So I got back into working out pretty intentionally here about a year ago, and there's Jay-Z, Linkin Park, throwing around some barbells, and not thinking about work, focusing on a good sweat session. That's probably my other one.
Yeah, you look good, by the way, man. Like you can tell you shed some LBs, and you're rocking nice. Every time I see you, you're wearing a nice button down, tucked in. You're the Loffler way. You're bringing you out of manufacturing world and into the front office. I love it.
I guess.
All right, last one. This wasn't so bad.
Not too bad.
What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
I think the best piece of advice I ever received is to first figure out who you are, right? To start with your identity, because then everything else will flow from there, right? But to anchor yourself in, whatever that is, right? For me, my faith is really important. But once you figure that out, you can let everything else fall in line. I think where I see friends or other folks get in trouble, right, is they start chasing different avenues without figuring out who they are first. So they might end up way down a path that's different than who they are, and it gets them in trouble. So I think that's probably the best piece of advice. It wasn't taught to me as in a lesson per se, but something that was just built in me through my life, and I feel really fortunate.
Wow, what a good answer! Like that is Brandon to a T right there, and based on all your answers and then your story. So the reason why I do this podcast is because we got people like you in our community that not enough people know, because you don't have a big social media presence. You're this sleepy genius that is just happened to land at Loffler now, and they snapped you up. So, but one thing I do love about you is you are very accessible, and you never say no to an introduction. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's a great opportunity for people to learn a thing or two, whether it be about the time you had in private equity or the things that you're doing now or moving forward, or just you as an individual. How can people best get a hold of you?
LinkedIn's probably the best. I think I have an account on Facebook and Twitter, but they're more for exactly. Yeah. So LinkedIn's probably best. Otherwise, I'm always happy to keep my inbox open at work. Just brandon.norberg@loffler.com. So pretty simple that way.
I'm going to put links to your LinkedIn profile, your email address, and then lofflercompanies.com, so people can learn more about Loffler in our show notes. I have to say, you are one of the first people that jumped in on Coalition 9 when we started this, and you were part of the beta groups that we did during COVID, all that stuff. And you have no idea not only what that means to me, but also what your friendship means to me. And we've become really, I call you a very good friend. And so having you on the podcast, being able to share you and have you as a member of our community just means the world to me, man.
Hey, I appreciate it. I could say all that right back at you. I joked when we met, right? I'm like, I found a sales guy who likes numbers, right? And I said, I think he likes me because I'm a numbers guy who appreciates some of the marketing stuff. So it's been fun growing our friendship from there, and slaying walleye and Labatt's and having some fun. So you're building something really cool with Coalition 9. That's why I could see it right away, and you're the right guy for the job. So very happy to support you and continue to carry the Coalition 9 banner.
Thanks, brother. Well, more people need to get to know you. Reach out to Brandon. On behalf of Brandon Norberg, this has been the Power of 9 podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Eggert, and I want to thank you for the privilege of your time.